Welcome everybody to the June 2025 Ask the Chief. I'm here this afternoon with Captain Barta and ready for you to ask me whatever you've got on your mind.
All right, Chief. Well, don't give me that open invitation. I might just ask away. So thank you for being here. It was a busy day. We had the drowning press conference this morning. And for some additional scheduling reasons, I know we couldn't get out in the field today to continue our tradition of filming Ask the Chief at a station that has recently gone above and beyond. But I'm pretty sure there's a station you want to give a shout out to, correct?
You know, I really enjoy going out to stations and recognizing those that do go above and beyond. I get so many texts, emails, calls concerning, how our crews take care of, their communities out there. And so, boy, if we had to do that, we'd be out there every day. But there is one crew I would like to throw a shout out to and to highlight, and that's the crew from Engine 13. So I got an email recently forwarded to me from Battalion Chief Brian Bear about the A shift crew at Station 13. I want to read that now. And it reads, "Dear Chief, I received a message from ECC asking me to follow up on a medical aid that occurred at 0300 on April 8th, 2025. Says the person who contacted ECC was the father of the patient, who happened to be a retired 29-year veteran of the Long Beach Police Department. During our conversation, the father had this to say about our crew. I have never seen customer service like that in my 29 years of service. Their compassion, care, and positive attitude at 3 a.m. was greatly appreciated by him and his family. I know that the level of care that our firefighters and professional staff provide are second to none. But as a fire chief, you can't get enough. It just floors me every time I hear that. I too have a family. Everybody in this job has a family, and to hear how our people are treating others, irrespective of whether they're first responder families or not, is pretty huge. I'm very, very proud of it. With that in mind, I want to publicly thank and honor the A shift crew of Station 13, who not only saved this patient's life, but also took the time to deliver aid with kindness and care. Fire Captain Eddie Lee, Fire Apparatus Engineer Bryce Wagner, Firefighter Paramedic Clint Sparks, and Firefighter Paramedic Jack Enriquez.
Thank you, Chief. The first question actually has to do with medical aids and EMS. Chief, where are we at with the ambulance proposal? If we are awarded a contract, what does that contract look like? And what is your ultimate goal when it comes to ambulance transport?
All right, so as most everybody knows, the private ambulance, the BLS ambulance contract, they run 5 years long, and the contract is near its end. And so the county has put out an RFP for the 5 exclusive operating areas that it manages, these EOAs. And private ambulance companies, in this case, we with our partner Emergency Ambulance, can bid all 5, some of those 5 EOAs, whatever it may be. We have placed a bid in partnership with Emergency Ambulance. That bids were placed in or submitted in April. We're waiting for the evaluation committee to make their determination. If we happen to be selected for one or more of those EOAs, the decision then goes to the County Board of Supervisors. And they will decide, who is awarded, a contract, a patient transportation and ambulance contract for those areas. Why do we want to do this? Well, right now, the ambulance system in this county is pretty fragmented. We have private ambulance, both FAWC and emergency, currently providing service in several of the EOAs. Trying to track, response time compliance and all that's been very difficult. And so we believe that, as the ALS service provider in all of the cities that we serve and in the county, we should be engaged and involved in how the system works. In our view, the patients that we respond to, they're our patients. The ambulances, they transport our patients to the hospital. And for us not to be involved or engaged in the system at all, the way it's currently set up, is just wrong. And it's a disservice to the communities, that we serve. So we believe that this will be an opportunity to enhance, that level of service, not only get ambulances, to the sides of patients faster, but to be better trained and to be in sync. And there's an opportunity through this to generate some revenue that we can then invest back into our system. And whether that's to establish nurse navigation, alternative destinations, really build out our EMS program to where it really needs to be. Modernize our EMS system is something that we haven't been able to do. I'm not a big fan of competing with the private sector, but at the same time, we are the fire service. This is what we do. 77% of what we respond to are, EMS responses. We, provide the ALS service in this county. We need to be at the table. We need to be driving what that service looks like. And as the largest agency in this county and one of the largest agencies in the state, we have a lot to provide. And so it's time.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Chief. And the next question, we're going to kind of flip gears here. It centers around hiring and academies. So I recall the board recently approved something like a 5-year plan with a roadmap to hire BLS firefighters, as well as a succession of repeated engineer, captain, and BC academies. Is there any news on hiring plans or projected staffing needs for the next 3 to 5 years?
Yeah, there is. And as I recall, it wasn't a matter of us going to the board and asking for approval. We presented them with a 5-year plan because certainly the board and others, city managers, others, certainly were aware of the forced hiring that took place, or it still takes place. But during COVID and some of those other times where we were really in a tough spot, they certainly heard that. And so, we did develop a plan. It started back when Chief Dossie was still here. Chief McGovern is still responsible, for that plan. But again, this was something that we worked out with Local 3631, the Chief Officers Association, and others, to get as much feedback as we could from anybody. As if you recall, we asked for feedback from every member in this organization, and we got some really good ideas. Really, it was a combined effort and something that we presented, to the board, more than once, so that they understood what we were doing to address the forced hiring. As you mentioned, it's been, a few years, since the development of the plan. And because of its success, we've extended the plan through 2029. So we keep building upon it. Yeah, as you recall, Captain Barta, the intent was to have a 5-year forecast with flexibility built into each year. For example, in the first year of the plan, captains were getting forced at an alarming rate. I think many of us remember that. So we held 3 captain academies in 1 calendar year for the first time in our history. I mean, we needed to boost the number of captains. This created that domino effect that was predictable, that as captain forces went down, of course, engineer forces were going to go up, and they did. You start promoting a bunch of engineers, and guess what? Force hiring for firefighters, single role, and for firefighter medics are going to go up. But the long-term plan, what it does for us, it allows us to take all of these domino effects and organize them so that success in one rank doesn't create more forces in another. So we try to time that. Many times it's staggering the actual promotion over the life of the list. It also allows our members who want to promote a long-term view of all the opportunities that are in front of them. What I would share with people is, and I've heard it my whole career, and I'm sure many of you, if not most of you, have heard the same thing, that, I'm going to test for captain in the future. When I'm ready. I still want it. That's great. But understand that sometimes in the future, and we're starting to see that now with lists, we've got an actual engineers list, the opportunities may not be as good as they are right now. Somebody told me a long time ago is, do not pass up on opportunities. Even if they're things you're not sure you really want, throw your hat in, and you never know what you're going to learn. And certainly that's been the case for me.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Chief. And I know you said you had a slide with some data that illustrates where we're at with staffing in vacant positions.
Yes, I do. Chief McGovern actually shared this slide at our recent Operations Committee meeting, and it's worth sharing here. So as you can see, as of May 1, we had 5 true vacancies at Captain, and we currently have 10 in the Captain Academy. We're fully staffed at Fire Apparatus Engineer with an eligibility list of 19. That's the first time we've had a list at any rank in many, many years. We're fully staffed at the firefighter rank due to strategic overhiring and holding 2 career academies of 50 per year. We've been doing that for a while now. And while we do have 27 true vacancies at the firefighter paramedic rank, we have 58 firefighters in the paramedic process, including 18 who have completed paramedic school and are in the county accreditation process. We have 12 in paramedic school. We have 6 more that just completed our accreditation academy and are going through the accreditation process. And we've got another 22 scheduled to attend paramedic school. On top of that, we continue to prioritize the hiring of recruits with paramedic licenses into our career academies. There's one more slide that's worth sharing that demonstrates our progress. As you can see on the slide, we've gone from 11 vacancies to plus 37 at the firefighter rank, 18 to 0 vacancies, plus 19 on the list, at the FAE rank, from 32 vacancies down to 5 at the fire captain rank, and 8 vacancies down to 4 at the BC rank. We certainly did not abandon the plan. It's a living document, and so we're adjusting as we need to. But again, a lot of people were engaged in the initial development of the plan. It's carried on. Those same people are helping now, those same organizations. Certainly Local 3631, the Chief Officers Association, Executive Management. We still take a lot of recommendations, a lot of discussion at our regular meetings, but we are watching very carefully. We do not want to ever end up in a situation like we were before, where the force hiring was at a level that it was. Some of it that's taking place, quite frankly, has to do with workers' comp. We kind of hit a high water mark with workers' comp. I think as of last week, I think we had 130 out. That's a lot of people. And I'll say it here, we've got a lot of people that live, out of state that we can't, recall back. Now, these individuals are working their shifts and they're doing the trade. So, and I personally don't have any issues with people that live out of state. I think people, should be able to live and raise their families wherever they'd like to. But quite frankly, that is another pool of people that we don't have access to. So when the force hiring does happen, it tends to happen to those same people.
All right, Chief, thanks. And now we'll move on to the next one. So I know you want us looking sharp, just like you and I do right now.
Every day.
Every day. But we're one of the only departments around that doesn't have Class A uniforms for our rank and file. And honestly, we don't look as good as we should for a premier agency. And I know it even causes some confusion when we have tragic events like the funerals that we have to attend. There's a lot of confusion into what a Class A is, what a dress uniform is. Is there anything you can do to fix this?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up or that somebody submitted that question. It was something certainly that I noticed. I've been here over 7 years now. I'm working in my 8th year here. And yeah, I scratched my head when I first got here because I believe the Class A uniform, which is one and the same, it's the formal uniform, is something that I believe all of our firefighters, should have, every rank, to include, the fire, the CRR folks. We've talked about it. We've actually placed some numbers in some of our past budgets, but it just hasn't risen to the priority that it needed to get funded. We have established a fundraising foundation. The organization has had a foundation since the 2007 fires, and that was a means in which people could donate and we could provide small grants for different programs. The Girls Empowerment Camp, the Cadet Academy, a lot of things that we do regularly. Well, a lot of fire foundations include LA City, San Diego City, other metros. They collect sometimes upwards of millions of dollars a year from the local community that want to donate to their fire organization. So, in fact, today we had a foundation board meeting, and the transition is well underway. The recent Best and Bravest event was completely funded out of donations. That's the first time we haven't had to augment or supplement, the funding for that. So where I'm going with this is that I believe that that's going to be one of our highest priorities once this foundation has really got its legs under them, is to go out and let's generate enough funding so we can provide a Class A uniform for every firefighter. In most organizations that have these, generally it's once you get off of probation, then you're eligible to get these. Again, a lot of negotiation and talk has to take place, but that's generally how it works. So you're not spending, the organization isn't spending money on a uniform for somebody that may not get out of probation. But I too agree. I think it's a good look. LA County is dealing with the same thing. They're not, they're about 3 times larger than us, and they don't have Class A uniforms. They're in a different budget situation as well. Their times are a little bit tougher than us. So I too would love to see our people in Class A uniforms. I think it needs to happen. And so we'll continue to put it as a budget item. But you got to understand, I think even this year we had, $30 million more of ask than we had, budget. And it's our job then to go through and prioritize that. And unfortunately, sometimes things that individuals or small groups may think are a priority, and they are a priority for them, just don't rise to the point where the organization sees it as a higher priority than, say, other items.
So not imminent, but on the horizon
Not
potentially.
imminent, and certainly not lost on me. Like I said, I noticed it from the very beginning, from the time I got here. And I'd love to see all of our people, because we should be looking sharp, and it's a much more professional look, I think, than our current formal uniforms that those below the rank of battalion chief wear at formal events and during line of duty death ceremonies and those sorts of things. So that is definitely something I'd like to accomplish before I retire, for sure.
All right, thanks, Chief. Next question, where are we at with ordering new apparatus? And is our reserve fleet adequate for a department our size?
Great questions, timely. Our apparatus fleet's actually in pretty good shape. If you're one that's driving around in one of those old Suffens or something like that, you'd probably argue with me, but I believe we're swapping those out here pretty soon too. It's something that we pay a lot of attention to every year we go through the budget process. As most people have probably heard, there have been some challenges within the apparatus manufacturing industry. It wasn't but a few years ago that we could buy, an engine for somewhere around $750,000, $800,000 to $850,000, depending on how we spec'd it out. That same engine today is costing in excess of $1.3, $1.4 million. And instead of the just under a year it took for delivery, it's taken 3 years by some of these manufacturers. It's outrageous. Truck companies used to cost about $1 million. Really customized, maybe $1.1 million, $1.2 million. Those apparatus are now costing anywhere between $3.5 and $4 million, and taking between 3 and 4 years of delivery. Outrageous. There are a lot of people looking into it. Certainly, the fire service organizations, Cal Chiefs, the International Association of Fire Chiefs, the IFF, Western Chief. A lot of organizations are asking questions, so much so that legislators have been made aware, and it's my understanding that a congressional committee is going to be meeting and holding a hearing to talk with apparatus manufacturers about this. There's some antitrust concerns, obviously legal concerns, and so it's not good, and it should be much better. Fortunately, we've been, very proactive, and every year, we've ordered apparatus, knowing that it might take a little bit longer, for us to receive. So our fleet is probably better than it has been. It's going to continue to improve. We've received, more apparatus this year. We're in pretty good shape. There is no ratio or model per se, on how many reserve apparatus you should have for, your total fleet. There's no benchmark. There's no best practice. Again, having said that, we're in a much better place than other organizations and local metros that are larger than ours. So a lot of forethought by our folks at out at the repair facility, a lot of foresight by our logistics folks. We're going to continue to get customized engines and customized trucks. In between, we may get some showroom models that maybe aren't as customized. But so important that we have enough, and so important that when we do get into a drawdown situation, like we do, seems like every year, at least more than once, that we have apparatus for our firefighters to sit on. That was a big focus, as most people know, up during the fires in LA County. Holding people and keeping people in station when there's nothing for them to respond to, kind of causes you to scratch your head a little bit. We want to be able to put the firefighters that we get recalled onto apparatus that they can respond to, whether it's here locally or to support other counties and other areas of Southern California and the state. We do that better than most. I look at how many strike teams we push out just from OCFA, not counting the metro cities, and we've had 6 to 8, out fairly regularly. Causes a big impact, obviously on, force hiring and bringing folks back, and it's supposed to be a short term, generally supposed to be very short term. But this agency steps up. Whenever there's a need in this county, out of this county, this agency steps up, and it's not lost on the other fire departments in the state of California. We have an amazing reputation because of all we do to support the mutual aid system. So I'll talk a little bit about some of the apparatus that we've got ordered and that we've got going out into the field. We've got truck 85 and 81 in Garden Grove. We ordered 15 Type 1 fire engines in 2024. Another 14 will be ordered in 2026. As part of the 5-year CIP, we plan on ordering 39 engines to go into service as frontline engines. And finally, we have a fleet of 40 reserve relief engines available as frontline engines or search support should we need them.
Great, thanks, Chief. So sounds like we're situated well moving forward.
We're in good shape. Is it perfect? We could always use more, but we are way better off than most of our neighbors, if not all of our neighbors.
That's good news. Kind of tying into new things coming. So where are we at with the rebuild of Station 24? And then along with that, was moving Truck 9 to Fire Station 24 part of that rebuild plan?
Yeah, so coincidentally had an opportunity just yesterday to get a tour of the Fire Station 24 in Mission Viejo, and it's probably the most modern fire station I've ever seen. Those that built the fire station are those that are in the industry. They've built fire stations before, so they understand, firefighter needs. I mean, from every little closet, IT closet, to the generator, everything is so well thought out. The rooms, the apparatus floor. It was incredible. I think we spent an hour there, and man, I just couldn't believe how fire stations have evolved as they have. So it's a beautiful station. I think it's the first 4-bay station that we've had. When we build stations, we're looking at a minimum of 50 years. I'm sure some of those much older than 50-year fire stations, I think that was probably the plan 80 years ago, right? But it's a beautiful station. And in talking with the mayor of the city of Mission Viejo, who also had a tour a few days before I did, he's still talking about it. It's beautiful. And yes, moving Truck 9 down into Station 24, we've done the response modeling, and we'll pick up, a bigger chunk of the population by having them more central into the city of Mission Viejo. So yes, that's been part of the plan.
All right, just about there. Torture's almost done. Last question, official question. We're hearing rumors of an autonomous firehawk coming to the OCFA. Are there any truth to the rumors? And if so, what is our role in developing this technology?
There is some truth to it, but the reality is that it's remained a rumor because there's no funding behind this pilot program, this autonomous Black Hawk helicopter project or program. There are legislators, local legislator, Assemblymember Cotty Petrie Norris, who is leading the charge on Assembly Bill 270. She's also made a direct budget request of the governor for $15 million. And this would provide for a pilot program for an autonomous Black Hawk helicopter. So like our Firehawks, this is an Army Black Hawk that has been configured and installed with technology that allows the aircraft to fly autonomously or with one pilot or with both pilots. And I think what people need to understand is these aircraft are designed, even the Firehawks, they're designed for two-pilot operation. There's some waivers and some things we get with a Firehawk because our crew chiefs receive some level of training that allow us to fly, single pilot. Well, if you're in the military or something else, those are dual pilot aircraft. And so Sikorsky, Lockheed Martin Sikorsky, has built one of these helicopters up. It is capable of flying on its own via iPad. You don't even need to be a pilot to fly this thing. When we've participated in demonstrations, the aircraft does have pilots in it, not ours, Sikorsky pilots. And they recently did a demonstration in San Bernardino County where the helicopter with the pilot's hands-off controls were able to go, pick up a load of water with a bucket, the thing's not tanked, find the fire, actually hit the fire, fly back to the water source. And so that technology is alive and well. We will be partnering, should we get the $15 million, and we'll know here in a few weeks once the governor's budget is done. Should we receive the money, we'll be partnering with CAL FIRE on the pilot project. Our pilots, LA County, CAL FIRE, Ventura County, San Diego, all the fire agencies that operate S-70 or UH-60 Black Hawk helicopters will be participating in this pilot program. Do I see, any time in the near future that we're turning a helicopter loose autonomously? Likely not. But even the single pilot safety enhancements, for those that haven't worked as crew chiefs or spent much time, in the cockpit of an aircraft during a very busy fire over multiple hours, very taxing. It's exhausting. Our pilots are the best in the business, but it is tiring work. And anything that decreases cockpit workload is a good thing. I had one pilot share with me that, hey, put fire aside. If I've got, the autonomous Sikorsky package and the RAIN package, which is basically the brain. So you've got RAIN, which is a technology company, a software company, and you've got Sikorsky with their matrix system. RAIN is like the brain. RAIN is the brain that's telling them where the water source is through a number of sensor systems, where the fire is, how much to drop, blah, blah, blah. Well, I've had pilots tell me that, listen, when I go into a hoist profile and I'm working off, say, the right side of the aircraft, I've got things right here, but I don't have terrain and other areas. I don't have eyes over here. The RAIN technology provides eyes all the way around that helicopter. So it's just an added safety capability. So, we were approached to partner, with CAL FIRE, and we've agreed to do so. So still not quite a rumor, but not fact yet either. We'll know certainly before July 1 when the governor's budget is approved.
Great. Well, that does it for that part of the interview. I hammer you on the Raiders. I can't bring myself to do that anymore. So we're going to switch gears and we're going to go baseball now. It's well known you're a Padres fan. It's also well known that Chief Hunter is a Dodgers fan. Does that make it awkward up there in executive management to try and get him to actually come to a better baseball team and not one that just buys their roster?
No, Chief Hunter and I, in fact, I think we're planning on hitting a game in the next couple of weeks. I think there's a division series coming up, but No, not awkward. Especially the last couple of years since the Padres have done much better. But I have to say, man, with Ohtani and the Dodgers have a pretty deep lineup. Um, but I think the Padres will slay the Dragons to the north at
I'm
some
with you.
point.
I agree. All right, Chief. Well, that does it. Torture's over. It's all the time we have for today. Do you have any last words for the troops in the field?
Probably, as I've shared, every month when we do these, or every Ask the Chief, more than anything, just to say thank you. I want to thank everybody, not just our uniformed firefighters, but also our professional staff, our sponsors. The Best and Bravest was just a few days ago, and it was amazing how many people filled that room. I feel blessed, to be a part of this organization. I'm proud of everything we're doing, within our community. I'm proud when I'm contacted by agencies and organizations from all over this country, excuse me, and even internationally. This organization's got an amazing reputation that's not by accident. It's because of you all and everything you're doing, again, to protect, our communities. So take care of yourselves, stay healthy. We're about to go into our, wildfire season, our traditional wildfire season. Take your vacations. That's why you have vacation hours. But be ready for another tough grind. The predictive services is showing again that we are going to be in extreme fire conditions for most of this summer and into the fall until we do get, a substantial rainy season. So I look forward to seeing everybody out there. If you'd like me to come by and for lunch or a visit, let Kathy Harris know. She can get it set up. But again, more than anything, I just want to say thank you. And thank you, Captain Barta, and all you media services folks. We appreciate you.